Hawks Talk and Squawk. Actually, this could be a Hawks Hoops Talk and Squawk, because this is the story of J-Dubs and hooping. Now, basketball is, amongst the J-Dubs, basketball's the most popular sport. Like, football's popular as well. Football's more popular amongst the J-Dubs from a spectator standpoint. But from a participant standpoint, it's basketball. You know what I mean? It's a contact sport, but not where football is. Where football, you can get severely hurt. Not that it can't happen playing basketball, but the chances aren't as likely as with football. You know what I mean? Basketball is less physical. So that's more of a common sport that the J-Dubs play. Now, we played some football. Me and my crew, we played basketball, we played football, and we played baseball. You know, they call it softball. But those are the three sports we all played. But basketball was the main sport. We had played basketball all year round. You know, during the colder months, we would play indoors. We played at a few different colleges, like St. Joe's. We played up there a lot. You know, St. Joe's, that's right down the street from where I grew up, so we always played ball at St. Joe's. Temple, McGonigal Hall, over there at Pecan, where the Sixers used to practice. We're practice at, it was a couple of those colleges out there, like near Narberth. I'm trying to remember their name. It'll come to me, but we played at a lot of indoor places, and they were mostly colleges. Now, during the nicer months, we'd play ball outside. We always played in the nice areas, though, like Narberth, Ardmore, like up there, like in the northeast. Like, we never really balled like in the hood on the ghetto courts. And, you know, the hoods have gotten better with the upkeep of the courts, but you know, especially coming up, like the courts in the hood, the rims will be all bent. They wouldn't have no nets. You know what I mean? Glass and shit all on the court. So that's why we always hooped up in the nicer areas. You know what I mean? With the glass backboards, the crisp nets on the rims. And we used to get our hoop on. You know what I mean? All day, every day. Especially in the summer when it wasn't no school. You know, and I always had a little part-time gig working at my pop's sign shop. But you know, during the summer, I could do anything I want and still get a little check. Just stop by the shop and, you know what I mean, at least make it look like I'm doing something. But in the summertime, we would go out in the morning. You know, my cousin Sheaf, he was the best hooper amongst my crew. Like, it was him, then me, then it was Lucius. Like, we were all pretty good. I would say the worst out of the crew was Dad Rise. Like, he wasn't trash, but he would usually be the last person picked. Like, if we was to pick squads, but we always had our set squad when we went out to the court. Then we were like, let's shoot for teams. Like, no, we already got our squad. And we were always so in sync, especially me and Sheaf. Shit, on the court, we looked like Doc and Moses, Jordan and Pippen, yeah, Shaq and Kobe. Like, all the legendary duels. That's how me and Sheaf looked on the court. You know what I mean? We was always 1 and 1A. You know what I mean? Even though I give the nod to Cuzzo, he was a better hooper. You know, just a better all-around athlete than everybody else in the crew. You know what I mean? But I was a pretty good athlete myself. But we would go out in the morning, like maybe 10, 11 o'clock. We would hoop for a few hours. And when we would go out there, we always took a cooler full of ice, Gatorades, and waters. Like, we really rolled like hoopers. Like, they called us J-Dub Hoopsters. Because that's how we roll. We would go out all day, like coolers full of beverages. You know what I mean? Around 1 or 2 o'clock, we might go grab something to eat or something just to put some food on our stomach. Take a little hour or so break. Then be back at it and ball into the night. You know, of course, on meeting days, we didn't hoop all day. We might go out for a couple of hours. But we were some hoop stars. You know what I mean? In our top 5, it was always me, Sheaf, Lucius, my homie GG. That's the one. He's an ex-J-Dub now as well. You know what I mean? It was us 4 then. It was my homie Johnny Sheldon. You know what I mean? He would run the point. I was the 2 guard. Lucius was the 3. Sheaf the 4. But Sheaf was like a point forward. Then GG in the middle. And a lot of times it would be like maybe 11 of us. Our bench was Nad Raj, Sean, little cousin Scrappy D, who was also Sheep's little brother. Those 3 headlined the bench. But it would be, then we would have a few more cats with us. So when we went out to the courts, sometimes we'd be like 20 deep. And we would just break off in the 2 squads. A lot of times we went out to the courts and there wouldn't be nobody else out there. So we had as much as the courts as long as we wanted. Then when other people would come out, like say it was like 20 of us out there, we would all break off into like 4 teams. Like we got our squad and whoever else was out there would put a team together, and that's what we did, and we loved it. But a lot of the times when we played ball, we hooped amongst each other. That's where the real, and I had nothing against, I loved playing against non-J-Dubs. Because like I said, we would play up at colleges, so we played against college players. Me and Sheaf, we always played against Jameer Nelson and Delonte Westwind, and shout out to them and shout out to the St. Joe's Hawks. You know what I mean? That's my squad, my neighbors. You know what I mean? Came up going to St. Joe's games. So, you know what I mean? Shout out to Hawk Nation on Hawk Hill. But we used to ball against Jameer and Delonte West, and in the summertime we would ball against some of the NBA players from Philly who would be around the way playing pickups. Like that's what we did. But it seems like the most memorable games were against other J-Dubs. And you know, they had a lot of unofficial leagues because, you know, witnesses aren't supposed to really be involved in competitive sports. But they had like unofficial leagues. Like you really had to be like in the J-Dub basketball circle to really know about this stuff. Like if you was, say you was the average J-Dub, you played ball, but you didn't really play ball amongst the top J-Dub. See, me and Sheaf, we were 2 of the best J-Dub hoopers in Philly. You know what I mean? Sheaf, he was definitely top 5, and I know I was top 10. When it came to like the J-Dub Hoopers from Philly. You know what I mean? And that's all we did was sort out competition amongst other J-Dubs, like the assemblies and the conventions. We would find out who was from where, and I was like, yo, you get your 5, I'll get mine. And yeah, sometimes we played for money. You know, we kept that on a hush-hush though. Or sometimes we would have like other bets, like, all right, if my team win, pizzas and cheesesteaks on y'all, or y'all host the next cookout and supply everything. Like, a lot of times if we didn't bet for money, we would bet for like other stuff like that, or you know what I mean, we would do stuff like that. So yeah, they had a lot of like unofficial leagues where it might be like maybe 16 teams playing in a tournament, and those teams could be of all Philly witnesses, or like maybe the tri-state, where you might have some from Jersey, some from Delaware, and we would play in a tournament. Like I said, my top 5 was always me, Sheaf, Lucius, Gigi, Johnny. Like that was always the 5. Because a lot of times you just had 5-on-5 tournaments, but then sometimes you had somewhere each team would have maybe 2 to 3 bench players. You know what I mean? The leagues were fun. We didn't always win. I remember this one time we lost to this team. They weren't even from Philly. I think they were from like Pittsburgh. And the thing is, when we underestimated them, because you could look at them and tell they could hoop, but you didn't know that. It was like, man, they ain't nothing. So, you know what I mean? They spanked us because we underestimated them. That was the first and last time I underestimated anybody when we played ball. Then you had like out-of-state tournaments where you might be playing against J-Dubs from Maryland, Georgia, you know what I mean, California. And this was like all different times of the year. Like the out-of-state tournaments would usually be in the summertime. Let's see, I first started, because I ain't really start hooping with J-Dubs until I started going back to the hall in 98 when I moved back home. And I remember playing in my first tournament in like the summer of 99. Because 98, that's when me and Sheaf, we was always close, but this was around the time we had got real close. Like he was happy I was going back to the hall and living back in Winfield. And that's when we had got real tight. And at this time, he was only like 13 at the time, but he was already like one of the best hoopers, one of the best young hoopers in the city. You know what I mean? Sucks he couldn't play for a school or anything, but amongst the J-Dub circle, people were starting to know that he was a beast. Because his pop, my Uncle Sheaf, you know what I mean, was a legend on the court. You know what I mean? He played ball for West Philly High back in the day. So he was a pretty good. He played basketball and football. So like I said, that's an athletic gene right there. You know what I mean? My Uncle Sheaf, he was the one who started taking us to play hoops amongst other J-Dubs. Because even though at this time he's already in his 30s, he was still taking the Tic Cats on the court. So it was really Unc that had us hooping amongst the other witnesses. And sometimes we would have a squad. It'd be me, Unc, Cuzzo, Gigi, and Johnny, and we would still run dudes. Or it would be me, Unc, Sheaf, This other older brother who came up with my own, you know what I mean, old head named Mike. You know what I mean? It would be those two, the two OGs, me, Sheaf, and a fifth person, and we would run whoever was on the court, and me and Sheaf was still young boys. I was 14, he was 13. And Cats was like, damn, y'all the truth. Like, y'all gonna be the next big thing out of Philly. But, you know, because of growing up in a cult, we couldn't play organized sports or anything that would lead to playing professional organized sports. So we say we unleashed those talents amongst the other witnesses. And you know, people would challenge us because me and Sheep were so cohesive together. They would try to challenge us like, oh, I bet you y'all can't play if y'all not on the same team. All right, we gonna see about that. And we would still go out there and put on, but whether our team won or lost all depend on who we were playing against. You know what I mean? Me and Sheep would play one-on-one. You know what I mean? I win some, he'd win some. Like I said, he was the best athlete out the crew. So, you know what I mean, to be able to even compete with him, that's a testament to your skills. Now, me and Lucius, we would always, when we would be just out there shooting around or practicing against one another, Lucius, he thought he was as good as me, which was a mistake. Because, you know, me and Lucius, we was about the same size, like same height, same build. I was a little bit stockier, but Lucius was a little stocky something himself. Like, not as stocky as me, but he, you know what I mean, had a little huskiness with it. But on the court, he thought that he was better than me, which was a mistake. You know, and there was a few times I had to embarrass him on the court because he thought that he was doing something. I was like, though, you better than that, Raj. You're better than Sean. You know what I mean? You're better than Caesar. Caesar was another cat who used to play ball with us. He went to Northwest Congregation. You know what I mean? He was pretty good, but he was a dirty player. You know what I mean? So a lot of times, like when we played in tournaments and shit, he never played in the tournaments. He really wasn't good enough. Like, he was good enough to play amongst me and my little circle, but he wasn't good enough to go against the top dogs. You know what I mean? Plus, he played dirty. So he getting into them tournaments, trying to trip and unintentionally hurt people. You know what I mean? Somebody would have thrashed him. Seriously. Now I'm going to tell you one time. Give me 1 second. There was one time, it was the summer of 2001. We're playing out in Ardmore. And we called this court the gravel pit because the court wasn't a traditional court. It was just like, it was a court where you had baskets at both ends, but the court was all like gravel and shit like that. You know what I mean? But it was good enough to play ball. And this was on the day all the main courts was packed. And we didn't have our main five that day. Like Gigi nor Johnny was out there. It was during the summertime, so Unc and all the OGs was at work. So it was me, Sheaf, Naraj, Caesar, Lucius, and it was Lucius' homies Jeffrey and John. So we're all out at the gravel courts. We're shooting around. We're playing Rough House, which is basically every man for himself. First person to 45 wins. When we play rough, every man for himself, 9 times out of 10, Sheaf won. He was always the first guy to 45. And usually I'd be second. I would probably have like maybe 33, or it seemed like I could never get to 40 before he won. It was one time and then if I ever did get to 40, and he would be like at 41, 42, man, those next possessions to the end would be something. Sometimes me and Cousin would be out there going at it one-on-one, and it led to some real serious trash talking. Like, it never got physical because me and Cousin, we respected each other to that point. Like, it never got physical, but it would be some real shit talk. But yeah, we're playing every man for himself. And matter of fact, this is a game I won. That's what makes this situation that much more fantastic. I'm winning the game, and Caesar's playing like shit. He's like, he only has like maybe 7, 6, 7, 8 points, something like that. He's low, man. Naraj has more points than him. And Naraj, like I stated earlier, Naraj was the worst out of the bunch. So we're all talking shit, clowning Caesar. Naraj clowning, like, you're low, man. I scored more than you. So, now Caesar's in his feelings. So he starts playing dirty. He's tripping Lucius. You know what I mean? Elbowing Naraj. But when he hit me with an illegal screen, it caused me to fracture my wrist, my shooting wrist on my right hand. I jumped up and I whooped his ass on my left. Came out, hit him with a left hook right upside his head. Then kicked him in his groin. Then used my left elbow and elbowed him upside his head. And I said, yeah, I know your daddy's an elder, but if you go running your mouth, my older cousins is going to pay your pop a visit. And I know where you live at. I've been in your crib. You know what I mean? Keep your fucking mouth shut. You know what I mean? And I'll guarantee you that'll teach you a lesson on playing dirty. And ain't nobody say nothing. And that was the last time Caesar played dirty against me. But man, we had some of the best, my best times as a J-Dub was on a basketball court. And after playing ball, we always went somewhere to eat or whatever. In the summertime, we would always pull up at a water ice spot. You know what I mean? The hood water ice spots. Like not Rita's or, you know what I mean? Nothing against them, but this is Philly. You know what I mean? Rita's is acceptable somewhere outside of Philly, but in Philly, you're going to an authentic water ice spot. You know what I mean? Like Fred's out in Southwest or whatever. But we would always pull up at a water ice spot, eat quarts of water ice, cheese, pretzels. You know what I mean? Those of us that smoked. But yeah, like I said, some of my best times was on that basketball court. And there was a lot of J-Dubs that didn't even go to the hall like that, but they were always there, you know what I mean, to hoop it up. For real, that's why a lot of cats associated with J-Dubs just to play basketball. You know what I mean? That's really the only benefit of this. I could play basketball and associate with those I want to associate with. And it's like those Sundays at the meeting when we knew we would be hooping it up. It's like you couldn't wait for the meeting to be over. And you know, some of the cats would go out and field service after that, so you had to wait till they were done field service. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna already be out there because I always drove my own whip. You know, because I never wanted that to wait on people and depend on somebody for a ride, so always drove my car out there. And cats would be like, can I ride with you? Yeah, if you want, but I'm leaving when I'm ready. You know what I mean? And if I'm on my way home and I get a call or whatever, I'm going in. You know what I mean? I'll say, I'll drop you off, but I would always suggest, like, if you had a car, to take your own whip. You know, that's what I always suggested. So when cats to be out in service, I'm like, I'm going to be out there practicing. By the time they would get out there, I might already played a couple games. Because like on the summertime, it is rare to find an empty court in Philly or in the city, especially a court that has a lot of action. You know, everybody gonna be out there hooping. You know, everybody. But it was, we played amongst ourselves, like amongst the J-Dubs. Those are always the most memorable experiences. And amongst ex-J-Dub forums, people will ask, what do you miss the most? I don't like playing basketball. Because for real, I've been out for 16 years. Last time I played basketball, I played ball after that. But the last time I really played basketball was, I had just turned 30. So that's well over 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Now, there's been about 4 or 5 years since I've shot at basketball. You know, I was somewhere, the little homies was playing. I picked up the ball and I took a few shots to see if I still had it. You know what I mean? I was kind of rusty, but, you know, practice, I'd be right back where I was. But that's the thing I miss about the J-Dubs. You know what I mean? Playing basketball. You know what I mean? That's why when me and Cuzzo had that last exchange, it was just like, damn, you know what I mean? We ain't gonna hoop together or nothing. Because just a week before, we had played our last game as teammates. Like when we had played against some, he had came down to Philly and we had played against these other J-Dub brothers. The one last time, it was me, Sheaf, and it was, I don't even remember who else was. Matter of fact, yeah, it was me, Sheaf, Sean, Scrappy D, and his boy Jeffrey. That was, yeah, and we ran whoever we were playing, but that was a fun time, and I always remember that because that was the last game that we played together. Last game of hoops, so it was bittersweet. But yeah, that's the thing I miss the most about the J-Dubs. The only thing I miss, the camaraderie on the basketball court. But anyway, this was some Hawks Hoops Talk and Squawk. Like this video, share this video, Subscribe to the channel if you hadn't already done so. And stay tuned for more content. And also check out the previous videos. Hawk out.